I will.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm great. I feel great. You know why?
Why?
I don't have on-prem. All my assets are in the cloud, so I'm protected.
Well, it depends.
When I talked with someone about 2 years ago, he said that all the security problems of the world will be solved if everybody will be on cloud. So I thought that I'm very fortunate because I'm a new company. I'm using the cloud, so I'm protected.
So I would say, in security, we always say it depends, right? So, is cloud more secure than on premise? I think that's a very interesting topic.
Hmm.
We can look at, I would say the security is different. There's less security controls that you have control of. But security is still a concern with the cloud.
Okay. Um, I understand you have to be secured on the cloud as well, but I guess it's easier. Don't you think
So
so?
So I would say it can be, right? So when we've moved from firewalls and web application firewalls and these things that we would normally have done on premise to protect servers that we're hosting ourselves, but moving to the cloud, those are then managed by the cloud provider in some instances, right? Yeah, when we
Hmm.
talk about cloud, you've got infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. So really, it depends on what type of cloud, service you're using. Now, if we're talking software as a service, then all of those requirements then move to the cloud provider. But then we have to start worrying about things like identities, APIs, maybe trusted IPs that are allowed to connect, or how do we protect our data that we're putting in that cloud?
Hmm. So you think that in some cases on-premise is better? So if I want to be better protected and have a full control on my environment, I should use some on-premise hardware and software?
I would say it can be, but now we have to start thinking about, disaster recovery and is it open
Hmm.
to the outside world, right? I would say a system that's connected to the internet is never secure, but that's whether it's on premise
Hmm.
or in the cloud. But if you've got a file server that's sitting on premise and not connected to the outside world, could that be more secure than OneDrive or Google Drive or things like that? It could be. It just really depends on how you're securing that access even on
Hmm.
premise.
Yes. So you said that, in other words, that cloud versus on-premise, you should determine it by your business needs. So for
Abs-
some businesses, you must have on-premise if it's government or other constraints. And if you are a startup or company that want to have a managed infrastructure, maybe cloud is the best. But then you have to think about cybersecurity, and this is different
I-
cases.
yeah, I think in both you've got to think about cybersecurity, but I think the biggest thing you like you mentioned government for on premise and things like that. The government is in the cloud. But there's a whole lot more controls and restrictions in their
Mm,
cloud environment versus, what you can get as a small business owner and going to the cloud and buying something. So, it is going to be very business specific and business decisions on cloud versus on prem. And it really comes
mhm,
down to, risk and risk appetite. Startups are going to be, have a higher risk appetite because it's go to market,
mhm,
versus someone that is kind of an older style business that has a very low risk appetite that wants to put all this security and controls and very meticulous in what they're picking. And so, that's why we all have options, right? Cloud versus on-prem, and then what type of cloud.
yeah. So if I'm a company that can be either on-prem or in the cloud, and I'm considering to do this migration to the cloud. So cybersecurity, I guess, should be part of this my consideration or their consideration. But I guess if cybersecurity is very important for me, should I move to the cloud or should I stay on-prem? What should I do?
So, it's looking at why are you moving to the cloud, right? So if you move to the cloud, we start looking at, in cyber, we look at confidentiality, integrity, and availability of
Yeah.
data and systems. And so, your connection to these cloud systems, yes, they can be encrypted. So we've got our confidentiality. We start talking about integrity. There's less, these developers will go in and put in ways to not have bad data. But they could be open and could have bad data. We see that with a lot of cloud exploits all the time. And then But the availability, that's the big difference when you start talking cloud versus on-prem, is for availability. If you're on premise, that's when we start talking about battery backups, redundant systems, multi-site. There's a whole lot more controls that need to be put in place for on premise to have the same level of availability that you would have if you were in the cloud.
Hmm. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so I'm confused. I don't know what to do.
So, I would, the way I advise, my clients when this topic comes up is, cloud is the go to market fast, right? You can pick solutions in the cloud that help you build your business quickly. And then if your need changes in the future, you can always bring it back on premise, or, with a data center partner or hosting partners that do private clouds. So technically it's on-prem, but it's on-prem in someone else's building. Um, as business changes and adapts, it's not a hard and fast rule. And there's a lot of businesses that are in both. And so
Hmm.
it really comes with, aligning the security with the IT strategy and alignment. So when we look at it, it's the business. How does the business need IT? And then how does security come in and help the business to protect the revenue and help drive and secure that IT strategy?
Talking about MSPs that need to support this migration and cybersecurity, do you think that those companies have enough experts to understand how to protect the cloud? Because I guess that lots of years they've been mastered to protect on-prem.
I think the discussion has changed, right? When I go to conferences that are MSP focused, like Ride of Boom or
Mhm.
Exchange, and those the discussions have definitely shifted to cyber. And so, I think the MSP market as a whole is maturing in cyber. So, I think we're in a different place. MSPs back in the day, it was, Microsoft Small Business Server, which was on-prem, that did everything for a
Mhm.
small business. And, now the skill sets have shifted. There's a lot of great people in the community that are heavily involved with the cloud. And security as well. And so, I think we're in a better spot now than we were, 10, 15 years ago. Um, so I think small businesses can put their trust in an MSP, and startups as well, to get the proper advice. It's just listening and understanding as a business owner what questions to ask, right? And communicate the strategy, and then letting your MSP or and cyber advisors advise your company, and then take that under advisement when you're assessing the risk and cost.
Yeah, I understand. Will, thank you so much. I said I'm still confused. I don't know what to pick. So I guess that I will take cloud and on-premise and make sure that they both protected and could be used separately for my company.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.